Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I had to do that. Anyway, this is James Donnelly here with the Shadow Gallery, another edition. And, oh man, have we got some big news for you tonight. Of course, it's not really news, it's just more my opinion than anything else. A couple of different opinions on a couple of big things that just recently happened. And, of course, we're going to have comics this week. It's probably going to be a little bit of a long one, so pack a lunch, stay for the day. Because we're going to discuss, last night I was in an advanced screening of the new Simon Pegg, Nick Frost joint with Seth Rogen as the little alien named Paul. Tonight I also saw Ryan Reynolds in Buried. Just recently announced within the last, I think, couple of hours that Friday Night Lights star Adrienne Palicki is going to be David E. Kelly's Wonder Woman for the new TV show of Wonder Woman. So, and of course, like I said, we have comics this week. Not a big week for comics, so we won't kick off with that. We're going to kick off with my thoughts on Paul, and then later we'll get into Buried and my thoughts on Adrienne Palicki, and then we'll get to comics finally. Anyway, so, Paul. Now, when I see Simon Pegg and Nick Frost together, I'm expecting a laugh riot, okay? Something that has weird undertones, you know, some creepy British, you know, not creepy, but, you know, some odd British humor that only, you know, people who are fans of British comedy will get. But mostly, it'll still be pretty fucking funny. Paul basically takes these two people, these two very iconic, well, they've become recently in the last decade iconic Brits, and transplants them to America, and as two fanboys who go on the road from a San Diego Comic-Con to go to UFO hotspots, and lo and behold, they find a little foul-mouthed, pot-smoking alien named Paul, who just happens to be voiced by Seth Rogen. If that's not typecasting, I don't know what is. They're essentially on a mission to bring him to where he can go home. Apparently he's on the run from the government. Jason Bateman plays one of the government agents who's been assigned to capture him. Bill Hader is also one of the agents assigned to capture him. Kristen Wiig shows up as someone who is a very faithfully girl in an RV park, and she somehow gets sucked into this, and through the influence of Paul and his wealth of intergalactic knowledge, so it's, anyway, if you're a fanboy, if you've seen most of the great sci-fi films of the 70s and 80s, you're going to love this movie. I did see those movies. Obviously, this one I grew up. So my first memory of seeing any film is Star Wars in the theater in 1977. I was only 3, but I still remember it. I remember it being the first film that I went to go see. And I did love it. I didn't love it that much. I would say probably about 3.5 out of 4 stars, or 8 out of 10. Because there were some moments where the first act drags. About midway through the second act, it really picks up steam. Once Kristen Wiig comes on board, it really charges ahead. Um, it pretty much references every iconic sci-fi film of the 70s and 80s. And I'm talking majorly iconic, you know, Star Wars, Close Encounters, E.T., Aliens, you know, Raiders. Even there's a great little nod to that. Now this is directed by Greg Mottola. Now normally when we see Simon Pegg and Nick Frost together, we think Edgar Wright. But no, this is directed by Greg Mottola, who did Superbad, which I really, really didn't like. I intensely disliked, as a matter of fact. Mostly because it started taking itself too seriously at some points. And then also did Adventureland, which is a film that I really, really liked. So in that respect, they were two very different films. One is more autobiographical and bittersweet, and I connected a lot more with that one, which is Adventureland, and then Superbad, which is just obnoxious and stupid. For the most part, there were some charming moments, but there were very few and far between. This is the first movie in which I really, really liked Seth Rogen. Because I didn't see Seth Rogen. I think that was part of it. And it's not that he's so unpleasant to look at. It's just that, you know, you see his punchlines coming a mile away visually. When you look at him, it's like, there's a punchline coming, and you're going to see it on my face. You know, it's just that kind of shit. So, which is why Seth Rogen generally bothers me. But it is definitely the best Seth Rogen film that I've ever seen. It's incredibly entertaining. It's thoughtful. The reason that I do give it that 8 out of 10 or 3.5 out of 4 stars is because there are times where I feel it's starting to take itself maybe a little too seriously, and I started to get worried. And like I said, because the pacing of the first act is really slow, and then a lot of the pacing in the second act is still slow. A lot of the jokes that you see in the first 2 acts are in the trailer. A lot of the really big jokes, anyway. Fanboys see this movie. Fanboys and fangirls, people who love Pegg and Frost together, you're really going to enjoy this film. You know, I mean, it's their territory. You know, they've done this stuff. Which is, I think, also maybe a little bit part of my disappointment, is because this is ground that's kind of well-covered territory for them. Because if you see Spaced, the Edgar Wright TV series with Pegg and with Frost, although Frost is more of a bit player, is not as big as he is in either Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz. But a lot of this territory is you get that Simon Pegg is a big geek, okay, and that's great. I love geeky characters in movies, unless they're overdone, unless they're done to death. Like, for instance, like the Kevin Smith character in Live Free or Die Hard. Now that was just obscene. He's just like, okay, yeah, he lives in his mother's basement and he's totally teched out and everything like that, and he's got a big life-size cutout of Boba Fett, and it's like it's retarded. It's like, I hate that shit. So anyway, it's a very enjoyable film. I think a lot of people will like it. I think it's not for everybody. I think fanboys in specific will really enjoy this film. But I don't think that, I think that there's still going to be some people out there who's going to be scratching their head and just like, why are these other people laughing? What is so funny about this? For when they do get to the bar scene, that is honestly where the whole movie kind of picks up steam from there. Because that is, probably one of the funnier moments in the film, just because of the music that's playing. And when you see it, you'll know why. So we're going to come back, and I'm going to talk about Buried, and I'm going to talk about comics and Adrian Pilecki. So stick around. Be right back.